you our 3 best bets for Week 7 of college football, and it all starts right now. What's going on, Grandstand Bettors family? It's Matt from GrandstandBettors.com, and we're back with our weekly college football plays for week number 7. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you already are not subscribed to our channel. You don't want to miss out on those free picks, predictions, and contests throughout the entire college football season. And while you're at it, smash that like button if you are ready for some top 25 matchups this Saturday. I know we are. So without further ado, let's dive in to the number 10 Penn State Nittany Lions against the number 5 Michigan Wolverines in the 12 p.m. Eastern time slot. Michigan, a 6.5 point favorite at the moment. Over-under set at 50.5. Now, the Penn State Nittany Lions, they're 5-0 on the season, and it's been a combination of some very good defensive play and very good rushing attack on their offense. The Lions defense led by a strong secondary. They already have 5 interceptions and 41 passes broken up already on the season. The run defense, though, that is their strong point. They rank 5th in college football, only giving up 79.8 yards per game, and their entire defense combined is only giving up 14.8 points per game. They're making it very difficult for opposing offenses to move the ball down the field, and the team to have the best luck against them this season was actually Purdue. The reason for this is they threw the ball for 365 yards. Still, in that game, or since that game, the most points this defense has given up in a game is 14. On the other side of the ball, though, Penn State's offense is primarily led by their rushing attack behind freshman star Nicholas Singleton. He has 463 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns this season, but they also have another freshman who's his backup, over 300 yards on the ground as well. Along with 5th-year senior Sean Clifford's ability to throw the ball, this offense is putting up 34 points per game and averaging 6 yards per play, which is 32nd in college football. Now, the Michigan Wolverines, they're also undefeated on the season, and they have won all 6 of their games by an average of 32 points per game. Like the Nittany Lions, the name of their game has been their rushing attack behind Blake Corum, with 735 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns, which is 2nd in college football behind Pitt's running back. He is a Heisman contender with numbers he has put up already. He's also leading Michigan's offense to over 200 yards rushing per game, which is 20th in college football. Now, where they have struggled a little bit is in their passing game. J.J. McCarthy has only averaged about 192 passing yards per game, but he does have a 78% completion percentage. Now, against a good Iowa secondary, he only had 155 passing yards, which will definitely be something to watch as this team goes up some of the better opponents in the Big Ten. Now, their defense has also looked very good, especially at stopping the run. Just behind Penn State, they're only giving up 81.7 rushing yards per game, but their secondary is ranked even better, 11th in the nation. They're only giving up 165 passing yards and have held their opponents to 11.3 points per game as a defense. So what is our best bet in this Big Ten matchup this weekend? Well, first off and foremost, both of these teams are run first, pass second, and with the level of production from Clifford this season and the lack of a passing attack from Michigan as well, and how much they stalled against a good Big Ten defense like Iowa, we have a hard time seeing a lot of big plays in this one and the scoreboard getting lit up by either team, with these defenses also combining to only give up 25 points per game. With our first bet of college football, week number 7, we're going to take Penn State and Michigan under 51.5 points. Now, the next matchup we're going to look at is a big one. It's number 3 Alabama versus number 6 Tennessee in that 3:30 p.m. Eastern time slot. And the Crimson Tide, they're a touchdown favorite here on the road. The over-under set at 66.5. Alabama squeaked out a win against Texas A&M last week thanks to a goal line stand with 2 seconds left in that game. They did drop to 3rd in the AP Top 25, but their perfect season remained intact, and they now will have Bryce Young hopefully returning to the lineup this week. Their offense still put up 24 points last week without him, but that was a big drop-off compared to what they had generated in the 5 weeks beforehand. They now are averaging 44 points per game and still over 500 yards per game because of guys like running back Jamar Gibbs, who has 154 rushing yards in their win last week, and wide receivers Ja'Cory Brooks and Trayshawn Holden, who are the team's leading receivers for Alabama. This is a lethal offense, guys, especially with Bryce Young back. They're going to be a very good test for a good Volunteers defense. On the defensive side of the ball for Alabama, that is really what won them the game last week, thanks to Texas A&M only rushing for 70 yards. Through their 6 games this season, they've only given up 75 points, and they're holding opposing offenses to 166 passing yards and 84.5 rushing yards per game. The presence of their defensive linemen in the trenches has been a huge piece at stopping opposing offenses this season, and they're going to need them to step up big in this one if they're going to stop a very versatile Tennessee rushing attack. Now, speaking of Tennessee, last week they won yet again over LSU by 27 points. They're now ranked 6th in college football with a 5-0 record. And this is a big game this week for this organization. The key to winning this game is relying on their fast-paced offense, which is averaging 46.8 points per game. Quarterback Hendon Hooker has continued to catch everyone's attention. He's now thrown for 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, and still 0 interceptions on the year. He can also run the ball, which is a huge boost as it just adds one more level attack to that Alabama defense. Now, the Volunteers, they have a very tough rushing attack led by Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, who have 10 touchdowns combined on the season. Their run game is certainly a point of emphasis for this team, especially in the red zone. But their passing attack is just hands down dangerous. They have 4 different receivers who all have over 200 receiving yards. Each have 1 or more touchdowns, and they're all averaging 14 yards per catch. The Tennessee offense has carried them this season, but they also have a very solid defense. Strength of their defense, certainly their front 7, which held LSU to only 55 rushing yards last week. As a unit, they've only allowed 89 points on the season, which is ranked 22nd in the nation. So, the question is, who wins this massive SEC matchup this week? And, well, the way Tennessee has played so far this season, it should be a very good game. Offensively, they have the weapons to finally attack Alabama's defense and put up some points against them to possibly beat them for the first time in 15 years. On the other side of the ball, with Bryce Young back in this one, he still might not be 100%, which might lead us to believe that it's going to be a closer game than Vegas thinks. Both of these defenses, they're very good, and with Alabama playing this game on the road after a very difficult game last week, they might be a little behind the Volunteers coming into this one. So with undoubtedly a big matchup on the line here, we see Tennessee getting out to an early lead in this one, and even if Alabama comes back and takes the lead, we do think this is going to stay within 1 possession. So with our best bet for Week 7 in college football, we're going to take the Tennessee Volunteers +7 over Alabama. Now, before we get into our third best bet of Week number 7, just a reminder, if you're looking for that full card of college football plays, head on over to grandstandbettors.com, become part of our family, and start living that grandstand life. But as we mentioned, we do have one more best bet for Week 7, and we're looking in prime time with number 7 USC versus number 20 Utah. And the Utes, they are 3.5-point favorites, and the over-under is set at 64.5. The USC Trojans are 6-0 on the season, and they are sitting atop the Pac-12 coming in this matchup. They're outscoring their opponents by almost 22 points per game. Biggest reason for this is the success of their passing attack. Led by Caleb Williams, who almost has 1,600 passing yards this season. The Trojans, they also have 2 very good wide receivers he can throw to that defenses struggle to defend. Jordan Addison and Mario Williams, both averaging 15 yards per catch and combining for over 800 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns already. What makes, though, this defense very dangerous is the fact that they also have a good rushing attack. They have 2 guys that average over 6.3 yards per carry and have 14 touchdowns on the season already. Now, this offense knows how to put up points, and they can do it very quickly. They're 16th in college football in yards per play, 8th in points per play, and they have one of the highest third down conversion percentages in the nation. The way their offense is playing has allowed their defense to not have to do much to win games. And on that side of the ball, there is an area of concern, and that is stopping the run. Their secondary has been great so far, only giving up 198 passing yards per game, but they are giving up 152 yards on the ground. Now, they have been noticeably better since the first few games of the season, so they may have turned a corner, but if they want to keep their undefeated season going alive with a matchup on the road against Utah, they're going to need to be able to stop the rushing attack of the Utes. Utes, on the other hand, they have had a very disappointed season so far. They started this year 7th in college football, and they lost in week 1 to Florida due to a devastating interception thrown late in the game in Florida's end zone. Then they played extremely well the next 4 games, outscoring their opponents 184-43. But last week they suffered their second loss of the season on the road to UCLA, which really solidified their chance of not making the college football playoffs this year. In any case, though, they have had a lot of success offensively in both aspects of their attack. Their passing game accounting for 256 yards per game, while their rushing attack putting up 201 yards per game. They still have guys like Cameron Rising, Tavion Thomas, Devon Vale, who are very good players and can put up points on defenses. On the other side of the ball, Utah's defense has been phenomenal at stopping opponents' passing attacks. They're only giving up also 19 points per game. The run defense has struggled a little, but like USC, they are getting better as the season progresses, and they should be ready to give USC's offense a very hard time. So, what's our best bet in this Pac-12 matchup? Well, both of these teams are very talented, and despite Utah's record, they are still one of the best teams in the Pac-12 this season. When you look at each team's stats right next to each other, there really not a lot of separation there. In fact, when you look at the numbers, Utah actually has the edge with their rushing attack and run defense, and we think that is actually going to be the difference in the game. Utah has the defense, in particular, the secondary, to stall the USC offense, and after a tough loss last week, Utah should be ready in this one to try to spoil USC's season and hand them their first loss of the year. Because remember, Utah still can win the Pac-12 for the second year in a row. We like Utah on this game to control the ground, maintain a lead throughout. So with our final and last best bet of week number 7 in college football, we are going to take the Utah Utes minus 3.5 over USC. Well, that does it for us here at Grandstand Bettors. As always, sit back, relax, enjoy some college football here in week 7 of the season, and we'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week.